And when we are very young, we are like the big wow, responding, reacting quite naturally to physical pleasure and physical pain, naturally trying to get away from physical pain and going towards more pleasure. And we have quite naturally very human responses. We laugh and we cry, we smile. And yet, when we're crying, when we feel this sadness, we don't try to get away from it. We haven't been taught yet that it's affliction because the story of us hasn't really bloomed. It's just beginning to write itself. And when the belief in separation starts to really kick in, then it seems like there's a separate you, separate and apart from everything, whatever's going on. I know that I felt separate from my emotion. I felt separate from tears. I felt separate from thoughts. And it seems when it really kind of kicks in and you feel this great aloneness, then, well, at least for me, the object of my life, driven by hope and fear, was to try to feel this fullness, to get rid of this feeling of separation, because it really hurt badly. It really hurts. It's like knives in your heart. So usually, of course, we try to look for this completion or this wholeness through our parents, through relationship, and as we get older, all kinds of other things. And it seems my entire life was just taking my happiness temperature all the time. What am I feeling? Do I like it? How do I get more of it? And if I don't like it, how can I get rid of it? How can I change it? It was a constant judging of thought and emotion and trying to change it or fix it. And maybe sometimes it seems you can avoid it. Well, it's really just sitting under the carpet, a giant monster waiting to get you. Because thought and emotion is always changing. So it's really the story that makes it seem like there's a separate you, separate from these feelings and thoughts. And it's really only the description that makes it seem like there are separate feelings or separate thoughts. You can't really find a beginning or an end to a feeling or a thought. It's just a continuous flow of perception. And as soon as the word perception is used, then it seems like there's a thing called perception and a thing called a perceiver, me. And as soon as the word perception is divided into sight and sound and taste and touch and hearing, then it seems like there's a separate thinker, a feeler, a taster, a toucher, a listener. But really, it's all the story. It's all this thought made of shared learned words that your brain has learned. It's constantly describing what's going on in this undermutter that's always on. And in fact, if it does stop for a moment, not until it returns do you know that it even has stopped. So, as seekers, we feel this pain of separation very, very deeply. And our lives are driven by trying to end this pain, and we'll find all kinds of techniques on how to end the pain, don't we? You'll hear all the time, oh, relax into the emotion, or feel it deeply, and that's all trying to mitigate, to change what's going on. But what is going on is always what's going on. It can't be changed, and trying to change it, and then that's what's going on, really. So, and there is no you choosing to try to change it or not. It's just the next thing that happens. Even next, of course, is description. You see, we can't get away from description because we are it. And we are this undermutter, this thought stream. We are the symphony of perception and the simultaneous recognition of it. That's all we can know. And so that's what's going on. There is a physical world, it does exist, but we can only experience what's going on in our own noggins. And so, you know, who taught you that feeling sad was bad? Or who taught you that jealousy or anger or affliction, you know, why is there supposed to be a right way to be or think or feel? I mean, how conflictive is that? Because all the time there's this image of yourself, a better you that you're going to try to be. But you are always simply whatever is going on. There's not two you in there. One going, okay, now we're going to get better, and the other going, no, I can't. Oh, I'm still going to feel sad. And it is very, very sad, actually, because it's a life of fear of the wrong thoughts and emotions, and hope for better ones. Hope and fear of this never occurring next. So what can you do? Well, you can't do anything, and you can't not do anything. And the streaming of perception arises all by itself, without any effort or non-effort. And it is recognized simultaneously, all by itself, without any effort or non-effort. So there's this self-arising, self-releasing, instantaneously, never really having any substantial nature at all, of this dream of separation that your thought stream is painting constantly. And how can you realize that there is no next? I don't know, I've never found one, have you? And how can you get out of what's going on? Trying to get out of it is what's going on. Trying to stay with it is what's going on. Trying to accept it or reject it or surrender to it is what's going on. So many people try to go with the flow. Well, it's all the flow. You can't go with it or against it. Trying to go against it is the flow as well. It's inescapable. This is a dream weaving itself, every word, every thought, just weaving itself seemingly out of all kinds of separate things into this marvelous three-dimensional edgeless light fabric. This dream of separation of mountains and trees, and wondrously all kinds of emotions that really, well, you know, sadness, joy, longing, love, it's all really a beautiful ache, isn't it? A most magnificent ache. What would you be without that? And, you know, fear, anxiety, well, you know, the names are just, they really don't make any difference. The feeling is really quite the same. It's just this marvelousness of our humanness that the human brain objectifies what's going on into this and that. And it's really spectacular. It's definitely an evolutionary advantage, because we can recognize trees no matter what kind of trees they look like, and we can recognize a river. Even though river is water, it looks like an ocean, but we recognize that. It doesn't have to look the same for us to recognize it. So the brain, having labeled all this, has created a conceptual being, me, and a bunch of concepts which I can see, which I can know intellectually. And then the brain can start, you know, thinking about how to make the trees into boats and sail across the water, which is very, very cool. So imaginary separation is wondrous, but when it's believed in, it hurts like hell. And when it's no longer believed in, the dream continues. you know, you're still here. But it's impersonal somehow. It's like a lucid dream, watching the dream character, watching the dream weave itself, and yet feeling more deeply perhaps because these emotions are not owned anymore. They're not yours, they're not theirs. You get to feel everything, and that is spectacular. It really is spectacular. So it's not an evolutionary advantage to not believe in the dream anymore, and that is perhaps why it is so rare. Yet for some of us, these things that we call our brains do have this sudden or gradual shift in perspective where it's realized, the brain sees that all separation is made up. It continues to paint the dream, to paint this passion play and erase itself. But there's nothing an imaginary character can do or not do to make this happen, as you are a product of the thought stream, just like trees and mountains and boats crossing a river on an edgeless sea of dreams.